Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Christopher Freeman. We warmly welcome the family of Private Humphrey Netherval, Austin Condran, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Visitors who are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Humphrey Netherval Austin Condran. Humphrey Condran was born in Uralla, New South Wales in February 1893, the third of 9 children born to Thomas and Sarah Condran. The family moved to Murwillumbah on the Tweed River, where Humphrey attended the local Catholic school. He also spent 18 months in the senior cadets. After leaving school, he became an assistant inspector of stock, working for the New South Wales Department of Agriculture. In October 1915, Condran travelled to Brisbane and volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force. He completed a brief period of training at a Nogra Army camp before leaving Australia in December. Departing Brisbane on board the transport ship Adonis, he arrived at the Australian Army camps in Egypt. There, the AIF was in the process of doubling in size. In March 1916, Condran joined his unit, the newly raised 47th Australian Infantry Battalion. The unit sailed to Marseille in June, then travelled by rail to northern France and took up positions in the Somme River sector of the Western Front. The 47th Battalion's first major battle was Pozières. The unit completed 2 rotations in the frontline trenches, defending ground that the initial Australian assault had captured. In these positions, the men were subjected to heavy German artillery bombardment. After Pozières, the 47th Battalion spent the rest of the year alternating between duty in the trenches, training, and rest behind the lines. The unit endured the bitter winter of 1916 and 1917 in northern France, during which snow and frost were common. In April 1917, the 47th Battalion took part in the Australian attack on the village of Bullecourt, which had been heavily fortified by its German occupiers. This was the first time Australian troops had fought alongside tanks, but these new war machines either broke down or were quickly destroyed by the defenders. The Australians managed to reach their objectives, but strong German counterattacks meant that the attack ultimately failed. In the northern summer of 1917, British commanders changed their focus to the sector around the Belgian town of Ypres. The first objective in the overall offence was the capture of the ridge of the high ground that ran through the village of Messines. Throughout May and early June, Condran and his unit undertook training entirely devoted to the upcoming Messines attack. All members of the 47th Battalion visited a large model of the terrain to be attacked, so that each understood their role in battle. In the early hours of the 7th of June, following the detonation of 19 huge mines beneath the German positions, the 47th Battalion advanced, driving back any remaining German resistance. Fighting continued over the next few days as the Allied troops consolidated their hold on the German trenches. Enemy artillery bombarded the Australians. On the 9th of June 1917, Condran was struck by shells and killed. He was 24 years old. The same shell killed 2 other soldiers from the 47th Battalion, Private Thomas Mars and Private Harold Randall. Humphrey Condran was buried where he fell. In the continued fighting, the location of his grave was lost. He is commemorated on the Menin Gate Memorial in Ypres, with the names of nearly 55,000 British Commonwealth soldiers who died in the region and whose last resting place is unknown. Condran's younger brother also served in the AIF. Private Louis Ostrich Condran served in the Australian Corps Signal Company in France, survived the war and returned to Australia in 1919. Private Humphrey Netherval Austin Condran is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Humphrey Netherval, Austin Condran, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. In the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.